here I am with another video, and it's a big video. This is The Factory, a very popular SCP-001 proposal that I am extremely excited to be doing. Now, this is an SCP tale, not an SCP file, so it has no object class, but in any event, please note that this video does contain swearing, violence, blood, gore, human experimentation, and the implied violence towards young children. Without further ado, let's begin.
SCP-001 The Factory. The price is blood. Less immerse.
The following data release has been authorized by the following council members and administration staff. Access to SCP-001 is highly classified. To protect the true identity of SCP-001 from being leaked, several false SCP-001 files have been created alongside the correct file as decoys. All SCP-001 files are protected by a memetic kill agent. All those without the correct memetic inoculation will experience an immediate cardiac arrest followed by death. You have been warned.
Help.
Good evening, Doctor. No, don't stand up. And yes, I am who you think I am. Let's not make any more of this than it is. You know my number, and I know enough about you to make a duplicate that even your mother wouldn't be able to tell apart from the real you. No, that's not a threat. Just a fact. Now, as to my business here. It seems you have stumbled upon something above your clearance. Well, no. Stumbled is not the right word. Dug up, perhaps. And you're getting to the point where further digging would end in some fairly lethal gunshot wounds.
You cool, bro. We just started this video anyways.
Of affairs, as you are otherwise quite a good researcher. Therefore, you are getting something very few people in the Foundation ever get. An explanation. Yes, we were alerted when you first started digging into SCP-001. Every researcher who's been around for a while looks into it. Most are satisfied when they uncover the angel with the flaming sword. It's buried under enough levels. But then you started looking into the factory, and that is when I knew you wouldn't stop. So here it is, plain and simple. The factory is SCP-001. But it will never be written up. It was a choice I made early on in the creation of the Foundation, and a choice I still stand by. You researchers are far too curious. I'm not sure which scares me worse, to be honest. That we'll never understand the factory, or that we one day will.
Bro, what?
I'm sure you're eager to learn more. The factory was built in 1835. Back then, it was known as the Anderson Factory, named after James Anderson, a rather
Isn't that the person from the one show, the one who was immortal?
It was built in, well, we'll just say America, and was the largest factory yet designed, a good mile across at its widest, 3 stories tall throughout, with a special 7-story tower by the front gate that Anderson lived in. It was designed to be the ultimate factory, capable of taking care of everything, including the housing of workers. People could
Appreciate
be born,
the follow, Brody.
work, live and die without ever leaving the confines of the factory. And work they did. On everything from cattle raising and slaughtering to textiles to everything else under the sun. Now, no one knows whether James Anderson was actually a Satan worshipper. It's just as likely that he followed some kind of pagan gods. What is known is that he was very exact in the building of his factory and in the placement of his machinery within it. Survivors claim the floor was engraved with arcane symbols that were only visible when blood flowed across.
He knows all this by memory?
But
That's
then,
crazy.
The survivors claimed a lot of things. What is known is that Anderson made his money on the blood and sweat, and sometimes body parts of the lower class. His journals indicate he thought of them as less than human, being put on this earth only to serve his will. Of course, at the time, no one knew about his predilections, and so people flocked to the factory. A place to both work and live at the same time? Well, of course people wanted in.
Yeah, Faxy's power hungry.
Never mind the harsh hours, working conditions, sadistic security force and all the rest. Factory workers were forced to work 16-hour days, work only shutting down on Sundays between
I don't even
sunrise
work
and
that hard on
sunset.
YouTube. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Workers were not
I
given
do.
individual rooms, instead sharing rooms with 8 other people, sleeping in shifts
God
of
damn.
3.
That's terrible.
Medical attention was unheard of. If you were injured in the course of your duties, which most people were, you were expected to just keep working.
Wow.
Anyone too injured to work was dragged off by the security, never to be heard from again.
Damn.
For 40 years, the Anderson factory cranked out all sorts of things for people. Meat, clothes, weapons. Never mind that the beef might be mixed with human.
Oh, nah.
Don't care that
Nah, not me.
the weapons
No,
were
coach.
forged
Not me.
in
No,
blood.
sir.
No attention need be paid that the clothes were dyed with... Well, you get the
I mean,
idea.
even like interestingly enough, like, is this really too far fetched to be based off of real life? Like, come on now. We have factories all over the place, all over the world that are harsh conditions, treated almost just like this. Now, I'm not gonna say there's any arcane symbols or any like worshiping going on, but I mean, bruh, I mean, this factory, you know what I mean?
Idea. Rumours leaked out, but the products were so good, why bother? Until someone got out. I never met the brave soul who managed to escape, but she managed to meet with President Grant, and in 1875 he enlisted my aid. At the time I was...
Hold on, for this
Well,
specific video, I'm gonna
it
change
doesn't
the
matter.
chat
We'll say I was military,
to box.
kind of, and that my people were the same. 150 good men and some few women who were often given jobs that weren't supposed to be common knowledge. We'd been clearing out some Confederate
It gets
holdouts
weirder.
and some of the worst things we found down south. So we did some research, didn't like what we saw, and went in, loaded for bear. I don't actually remember much about the night it all went down.
That's terrible.
Most of it all blends together in my head.
Oh, that kind of makes my
I get
eyes water.
flashes
Hold up.
sometimes
Yeah, that's
of the people
awful.
chained to the line, living next to the dead, and damned hard to tell which was which. Children working underneath machines, the majority of their flesh scored from their bones by the great wheel.
Yeah, I'm a dark person, but that
And the
is
other
just.
things.
If you have any empathy for human beings, bro, that's just
Alright.
terrible, bro.
I haven't thought about that night for a very long time.
That's awful.
The security force wasn't much of a problem, but then Anderson's creation showed up. He'd been taking the injured workers and, well, experimenting on them. Men, if you could call them men, with multiple arms sewn together, some of them combined with animals.
Oh,
Horrible
no.
monstrosities out of mankind's worst nightmares. They kept coming, wave after wave of not quite living creatures. I lost a lot of good people that night. And then we found Anderson's breeding pits. Girls as young as 8, chained to the walls, forced to be nothing more than... I'm sorry. Even today, more than a century later, the memory makes me see red. When we finally found Anderson cowering in his office,
That's
we
mad
hung him
sad.
from his tower window with his own entrails. As he died, he laughed, saying it didn't matter. We could kill him, but his factory, the factory, would go on. He was still laughing 24 hours later when we finally cut him down, had him drawn and quartered, and then burned the remains. The entire time he uttered blasphemies that I don't like to think of.
Wow.
We spent a week cleaning that place out, freeing the workers, putting down the things we found in the basements and many lightless rooms. We pulled out things that were useful, stocked them in a house near the gate, tried to make sense of everything. 150 of us went into that hell pit that night and only 93 came out. By the end of that week, we were down to 71. But the things we found in there, my god. Well,
Wow.
you've been with the Foundation a while, they wouldn't seem as amazing to you. But we found toy guns that shot real bullets, a yo-yo that would flay the skin from anyone it touched, hammers that only worked on human flesh, a breed of skeletal horse that ran faster than anything we'd ever seen,
Wow, that's
cloaks
tough.
that seemed woven from the night itself, and let men access a shadowy dimension that I get away from myself. We found tools, both wondrous and horrible, and we were faced with a choice. I gathered my highest ranking, well, we'll call them officers, to me, and we tried to figure out what we would do. They all had opinions, The chaplain, he'd gone a little crazed, thought all these objects must be miracles sent from God, holy relics to be worshipped. Marshall and his little toady Dawkins thought there was a fortune to be made here, making and selling these things to the highest bidder.
No, sir. No,
the
sir.
Injun we all called Bass,
Bad
due
mindset.
to his deep speaking voice, he called these things an abomination and declared that we should hunt them down and destroy everything we could find.
You're not doing that either. That's death.
And Smith thought we should take this stuff back to the president.
For what?
The only one without an opinion was the old man, but he never said much of anything anyways. We argued for hours, days, trying to work it out. Me? I thought we were sitting on a gold mine, alright, but that we could use these things, these objects, to hunt down some of the scary things we'd run into down south. The other monsters this world had to offer, and use this factory for good, as a place to contain these things. Find a way to make them work for our fellow man, or at least protect our fellow man from having to deal with them. I'm sure you can figure out what happened. The chaplain snuck away in the night with his devotees, taking a couple of small items with him. Marshall we kicked out when we found him abusing his authority. He promised he'd get revenge, and that little Dawkins shit led the rest of their group off with some of the juicier items. Bass and his people tried to light the whole damn thing on fire, then just left when it didn't work. And Smith left.
You know what I mean? Like, bro, like, y'all, how you gonna, like, even consider going down there and looking for things to make you fortune? Like, that's a bad John. Like, you're just asking for death at that point. Bringing stuff back to the president for what? What is the president going to do with any of those things? Definitely not going to make the country better, I'll tell you that much. That's tough.
To report back to the president. I did manage to get him to promise me he'd tell Grant the factory had been destroyed. I had big plans for that place. Of course, it was kind of hard to follow through on big plans when you only have 12 other people to work with, but it was a start, and it worked. For a while, we had these amazing toys, and finding people to work with us was easy. Back then, going off the grid was as simple as leaving town. We knew what we wanted, we knew what we could be. Leventhal set out getting us backing. A simple invention here, some well-invested money there, it all worked out. White and Jones set out getting us other backing. In our previous work, we'd found out some interesting things about people, some secrets that powerful men didn't want getting out. And with our new position, helping keep secrets, we got more people asking us to deal with their secrets. Blackmail is a dirty word, but it works. Bright, Archie and Lumi got to work cataloguing the items. Light and Bright's wife, the nurse, they made sure we kept ourselves healthy. No, it's just remembering Light. She had such unusual ideas about hygiene for the time. Brilliant woman.
I forgot
Cal,
the 1800s.
Fletcher and Karnoff dealt with training the troops. Tesla and Tamlin were in charge of figuring out how to take advantage of the items
Elon Musk.
without making it obvious. We were amazing. The city we built around the factory, which we took to calling Site Alpha, was self-supporting. Agents, researchers, operatives of all sorts. Not by those names, of course, but those positions. We expanded. I'm sorry. I'm an old man. I know I don't look it, but the body lies. The mind doesn't always remember right, and sometimes I get lost in my memories. Things get confused. But the long and simple of it is this: we used the factory. It always seemed to have more empty rooms to store things in. Back then that was the word for them. Things. No skips then. No. We thought we had the factory tamed. That's one of the reasons I refused to quit this job. If there's anything I can do here, it's remind people that we will never tame these things. Contain them? Yes. But as we saw with Abel, tame them? Never. After a decade or so, we were pretty organised. The 13 original of us were being called by numbers, not names. We knew how to make things work. And if a thing or two vanished inside the factory still, and the occasional D-class, well, yes, we had D-class back then. Disposable.
Oh, okay.
That's where the D comes from.
Origin of
Had to have someone to test
SCP.
things
Okay.
on. Tesla and Tamlin were both very firm about that. But yes, Sometimes we lost people who didn't matter. Dr. Bright, was fond of saying it was the factory taking its toll.
You didn't miss much.
You can't get something for nothing. 1911 was when it all went wrong. Things, we called them fairies. An entire race of things living beside us. They could look the same as you or I. The only obvious difference was an allergy to iron. Yes, that's why we called them fairies. No, you haven't heard of them. Why? Because it's the one time the Foundation wiped out an entire race, roots and branch. And I'm the one who did it. We'd been hunting them for some time. We'd run into them a time or two before, come out on top. So when a certain royal asked us for help, of course we were eager to get them in our debt. We've always loved having people in our debt. We sent a team to help out, take care of what we...
It's interesting how this almost like SCP, like, you can really weave it in with like a lot of things in real life and without saying too much on the internet. I just feel as though, like, you see how like he's saying things like, okay, this started way back in 1800, and he's talking about things like getting royals in our debt, people of wealth, people of money in our debt, being of the upper echelon because we hold secrets and we keep secrets. And like we look at the SCP Foundation now, like the current iteration, it's like they're on top, and they started this way back then. Almost weaves in with like the people of power in today's generation. You know what I mean? Or today's, or this dimension.
The next time we saw them, their heads were on poles, attached to the saddles of the creatures the fairies rode when they attacked the factory. It was horrible. 3 words, but they convey so much. I'm sorry. Please give me a moment. I've never told this part to anyone. You should consider yourself lucky. And if you ever tell anyone of what I'm about to impart on you, I will not just kill you, but everyone who shares your DNA in the worst ways possible. You'll think Procedure 110 Montauk is a walk in the park.
Don't even know what that is.
To what I do to you. We lost. The things came and they destroyed us. Rode over our emplacements, slaughtered our people, shrugged off our weapons like they were nothing. I watched my 13 go down left and right just trying to hold the factory, and I, their leader, their friend, godfather to Bright's 4 young children, confidant, sometimes lover, always the confessor. I ran like a scared little schoolboy deep into the dark guts of the factory. I was chased by the things, always just one step ahead. I could hear them behind me, feel their breath upon my neck, and I came to a door I've never seen before. A bronze door, covered in Arabic script of some sort. I've never been one for languages, especially not the curvy bullshit the muscle men use. But I didn't care. They were coming for me, and I threw the door open and dived through it. Everything inside was different. There was a feeling of peace, that nothing could hurt me here. The light was this dark red, but still felt right. My ears were filled with the steady thrumming of a gigantic heartbeat. And in front of me were the remains of Anderson. It spoke to me then, but I'll be damned if I could tell you exactly what it said. What it told me was more meaning than exact. It offered me hope. It told me that each of the things we had used from the factory, no matter what we did with them, fed it, helped it grow. But if the fairies took the factory, they would destroy it, and we couldn't have that. It offered me a deal. It could remove this event, make it have never happened. All I needed to give it was us. I didn't want to. I knew it was a bad idea, but then I saw them again. My family, my friends dead by the hands of those bastards. I agreed. It smiled, and I found myself once more upon the ramparts, watching the horde of fairies crest the hill. My Foundation alive once more. In my hands was a weapon. I won't bore you with the details.
So what, he sold his soul?
Slaughtered them. And with these new weapons, continued to slaughter them everywhere they lived, everywhere they bred. My fellow O5s questioned my decision, thinking we should save some in case we might ever need them. I overruled them. We moved away from the factory, shut it down, moved our things out of there. We changed the name from things to Special Containment Protocols, focusing on containing them, not anything else. The others were curious but understood I had my reasons. I boarded up the factory, blocked it shut, buried it under a ton of rubble, saying it was too dangerous. I thought I'd gotten away with it, until I found a thing on my desk. One of the old toy guns that shot real bullets, and it had the factory label on it. I've sent people in from time to time to see what it might be doing. Last time I sent people in to look, there was nothing there. We keep finding factory items out there. I can't help but think of how many more we don't find. The people who use them and keep it hidden. I think back to the body telling me how each item used gave energy to the factory. I never asked energy for what. I don't think I want to know. What do we give it? D-class mostly. Where do you think all those bodies went? There's a place. Bodies are left, and they vanish. Everyone thinks I'm a genius for figuring it out. Sometimes I have to feed it other things. Researchers, agents.
Nah, fam.
They never know it's coming, it just reaches out and takes them. But in the end, we're doing more good by being here. Whatever the factory wants, whatever it is, we're doing good here. I have to believe that. And now you know. Are you happy?
Nah, that is sickening.
I didn't think so. Why tell you? I'm getting old, Everett. Should I die, someone will have to keep feeding it. Maybe you'll be different. Maybe you'll figure out how to stand up to it. But I doubt it.
Oh, that's wild, bro.
And that concludes the factory. Thank you all so much for watching this video and
That
for your
is
patience.
crazy.
It took a lot of effort to make it. So if you did like it, then please be sure to like and subscribe to show your support.
Of course. Let me like and subscribe. Only thing I don't understand is, like, bro, did he sell his soul? You know? Like, what did the factory give him? Like, am I not what am I missing? I don't understand what he was given.